Hi everybody, Mature Simmer here. Welcome back to Basics, American Truck Simulator Let's Play, as I'm just playing on the standard maps. So let's see what job I can find today. Alright, so in trying to stick with making some money to be able to go ahead and get something and focusing on hazmat, which is my focus in my VTC, and Viva trucking that I'm a part of, so I'm in the hazmat group. That's really kind of what I'm liking to focus on here, to just continue to participate in everything as I can. So I'm going to go and take this chlorine from Cheyenne, Wyoming to Gillette, Wyoming. Alright, so here we are in the Chevron location. So, not a terribly long job, just 200 miles. So definitely should be doable. Should be able to get there during the daylight hours, I would think. Always fun to get out of these refineries and just get where we need to. So there is the gate, I think. Alright, so great shape there. Turn right. That would make sense given what we can see on the mini-map.
Get ready to turn left. Turn left.
Alright, I'm going to actually take the circle around. Oh, no. I was thinking I could get to that viewpoint and we could enjoy that, but I'm thinking that's going to be on some spur that I'm then going to have some difficulty getting to. I mean, if it takes me that way, like if we turn right here at the end of the road, we'll take a look at that. This has got to be lots of fun if you live in a neighborhood like this where you've got a massive industrial thing on the other side over to the main collector road here. Okay, we're going straight here, but I'm assuming I'm still going straight.
Right. And then turn right.
Oh, okay. Yeah, my concern is pulling over there, though. Might be hard to get out, but we may give it a shot. Because, you know, Cheyenne is the capital of Wyoming. You'd hope they gave us a pretty nice view here with whatever they did at the viewpoint. So that would certainly be something to take a peek at. So an old Kenworth, I would think, is what I've got here, given what I'm looking at. The wooden trim and all. Oh, I can't get down there anyway, so never mind. It's down in the... I would have had to have taken the road, and I would have just gone under the bridge here. So we'll just head over. Well, although it's bringing me down here, I'm assuming I've got to turn left. Turn left and turn left. Well, we're heading right there, I think, so... Now, am I saying left or am I going straight? Oh, I'm going straight. Okay. It's a little bit complicated to get out of town, I'll tell you that. It's certainly not the simplest thing. I can't see the light. I always love when I do that. So, a little bit of a pain, but... Alright. So, now we can go. The cowboy. We got this set of tents or whatever that is there. Maybe they have some expo set up, doing something. Or maybe it's always there. It's the interesting thing. Like, I don't know a lot about any of these locations. I mean, other than I know them, and even if I've been through them, it's hard to know a place until you live there. And even when you live there, sometimes what I've found, and I don't know if this is common the world over, I think I've commented about this before, that like the things that your city is known for or that are exciting to folks, you may have never visited even though you live somewhere for years. Like, I've talked to tons of people. Like, we love hiking. My wife and I love hiking. And so going to someplace like the Great Smoky Mountains or something, you know, we're like, oh, this would be great. I mean, that's our dream, to retire in that area where we can have access to that
And then turn right.
when we've got more time than we do just when we can head out on a vacation. And just as opposed to what we do locally, which is just hike around, you know, and it's with a hiking club and so forth, and we've got really nice parks where we live and so forth, but it's very different than hiking in the wilderness and in the mountains and so forth. You know, even a big park or a national forest is very different than something like the Great Smoky Mountains with hundreds and hundreds of square miles.
Go straight.
But you talk to people who are in those places, and they're like, yeah, I've never gone to the mountains.
And then turn.
Like, you know, it's people who live like in Aspen or Vail, and yeah, I don't like skiing. It's like, how do you live here? And, you know, but we all do it. You know, there's certainly things, you know, I've lived in Chicago, I've lived in other places, and, you know, there's, like, for example, I lived in Nashville for a while. I love country music. I never got to the Country Music Hall of Fame until I left Nashville and went back as a tourist. Even though I lived there for years and could have easily just, hey, it's the weekend, let's go look. Never did it. And it just becomes so easy to take things for granted. So sometimes, you know, people might be like, yeah, those tents are set up in Cheyenne all the time. I don't know what they're for. It might be some really well-known thing. You know, and sometimes certainly people take the view of, oh, it's just a tourist trap, or it's something, you know, they wouldn't do because it's nothing locals would do, for example. You know, it's just there for the tourists, but you just never know. Because that's the other thing. Like, I've been to Grand Teton National Park and whatever, in Yellowstone, which is up in Wyoming. It's in the opposite corner than where I'm traveling here. But, you know, when I think of Wyoming, I think of mountains. I don't think of the prairie out here. There was like something on the side of the road on the shoulder. I've got a viewer who's very good at noticing things on the road. They asked me about, was that a pothole? Was that... And they do give me the time in the video, which I could go back and look, but I just haven't had time sometimes to do it. But when I'm driving, obviously I'm like looking at the truck next to me so that I don't run into it. I'm not necessarily looking at the road. So unless it's in my lane, I don't always see the extra things that are put in by the game. So it's always cool to have other people that are viewing it be super observant and catch things like that, because they'll bring up questions about signs, or was that the Sinclair dinosaur, I think, was something they brought up at one point, and you know, I just don't know in some cases if it was or if it wasn't. So it's always interesting. But this should be, I would think, a pretty easy trip now up the interstate. And then, whoops, it's better if I stay on the road. I'm multitasking. I'm not texting while driving, but I might as well be, so I suppose I should stop doing that. But I'm trying to get something else done. And I say that, and then of course I keep doing it because it's too difficult not to. But, yeah, so getting back to ATS, I have a feeling I'm going to go out and say I'm going to make a prediction that we're going to see Kansas before the end of 2023 released by SCS. I'm seeing a ramp up in what they're showing. I think it bodes well for getting close to a release, because they're getting into really specific, tiny things about what's going on. And I would also think that some of those states would be significantly easier to do than even something here like Wyoming with the mountains and so forth. So even though Oklahoma's not really been out for that long, I think it's only been a couple months, I'm hopeful that these few Midwestern states, Kansas, Nebraska, when we start getting the Dakotas and things like that, that they'll go quicker than what we had before. And I wasn't really expecting that, or certainly won't be disappointed if we aren't. I mean, they come out when they come out. I'm not one of those that second guesses what they're doing. I enjoy what I've got, and then, as it gets larger, so be it. I think I talked about last episode my speculation of the fact that they shared, there was a team that came out to Nebraska, but then they also visited Iowa and clearly at least South Dakota, because they have a picture of themselves at Mount Rushmore. But no real reason to think that they wouldn't have just gotten up to North Dakota as well. It's only, I think, like a couple hundred, maybe 250 miles north-south to, cross South Dakota and get into North Dakota. So would make sense, whether they got into Minnesota or not, might be a debate. But then I was like, yeah, maybe that team is going to continue, whoever, the one that's working on Nebraska is then going to continue up into that area. And that's why they announced Arkansas as the next state, because they've already determined this other team that certainly has visited these other places would be better suited to go ahead and develop those. But I'm also not thinking that's the Kansas team, because there is Kansas and Nebraska being worked on at this point, and now we know Arkansas. So there's kind of always been speculation, and maybe more than speculation. I don't know. I don't spend a ton of time trying to dig up official information. I kind of get what shows up on Steam as the main announcements that SCS makes. I've seen they're introducing in 149 the PACCAR testing facility up in Washington State as something that could be discoverable. So that could be interesting when that comes out. Maybe just if I run into it and figure out where it is, because they said it's not going to show up on the map. It's just kind of going to be one of those things you can come across. Some of these hidden roads and stuff that you can get to and find racetracks on and so forth. But it'll be one of those. And of course, the first comment on it was modern graphics. How about you work on modern graphics? I don't know. I'll say till I'm blue in the face. These graphics are perfectly fine for me. I think they're detailed. I think they do a great job. I'd rather they just keep focusing on things like that. Give me more places to drive. It looks beautiful enough as it is. I'd still love to understand what people truly think they're going to get. Because it was like the same thing. Like I was watching an astronomy professor do a lecture about the solar system, and they talked about cameras on telescopes. Because this is another thing that I've debated with people in gaming forever, and they can continue to rant and rave all they want, but he explained the science behind the fact that your eye processes 30 images a second. That is how the human eye functions. You get a new image sent to your brain 30 times a second. So if you're getting 60 frames per second on your PC, you can pretend that you think that makes a difference, but your eye can't perceive it. So it's just funny how people are like, I need better graphics, I need more frame rate, I need whatever. If you have something that runs at 30 frames per second, it is going to be full motion perfect video for you. That's how it works scientifically. The people that want to sell you things that operate at higher frame rates are going to try to convince you otherwise. But biologically, it's an eyeball. Unless you've got a bionic eye, you're processing things that, and somehow I'm not even sure that your brain could handle it if it was sending it faster. It might cause other things. So if you had a bionic eye that could send 60 impulses to your brain a second, your visual cortex might not be able to process it any faster than the 30 frames a second, and it may throw out the frames in between anyway. So to me, it's the same. That's the same related argument with graphics. So I'm all good. Again, am I going to go seek out the PACCAR facility? Probably not. If I come across it, just like that viewpoint, yeah, it would have been interesting, but it really wasn't on the way. It would have wasted 10 minutes for me to get there. If I had a series where I was like viewpoints of ATS or something, that I just went and looked for them all and found them all, that would be different. But this is playing the sim and driving the game. So yes, the Kansas thing is interesting to me, and West Balkans is coming out for ETS2 in less than a week at this point, just a few days away. So that'll be interesting. I won't be able to incorporate it until ProMods is updated, but I'll certainly purchase it when it comes out and get it, be ready for it, but I won't be able to share it in the series that I'm active in until later. And I'm curious, because I'm thinking that's going to be a big one to take out and update, because it's not just one country. I was playing ETS when Iberia came out, and I don't remember how long that took, but I think it took a while, and I may just run the game in on the older versions, just so I can keep playing with what I have, and then eventually convert over. Because otherwise I'm going to have to try to guess how long it's going to take. I mean, again, I could guess and guess wrong. We'll see. So I may sit down one day and get 3 or 4 episodes done all at once. I've done that before. But right now, that's I think what I'm going to start doing though in both of these, because it's the same thing like when 1.49 with the PACCAR thing comes out. If I had mods, I would need to wait. That's one of the reasons I'm doing the Back to Basics series, is there was just too many challenges with the maps I was using of waiting and waiting and waiting, and at that point I did just let the update happen and not hold it back. But that's why I kind of ultimately, that the big coast-to-coast map wasn't really getting updated anymore, so I think it was more the Midwest expansion one. It was one of those two. I don't even remember. Alright, so we are here in Gillette, and we've got a Freightliner dealership, so that's cool. So we should discover that here. So that's important. Is it not going to give it to me? You're kidding me. Alright, that I am going to go back for. I need dealerships, because I'm going to be buying a truck soon, and I don't have a Freightliner dealership. And that's one of my favorite manufacturers, but I cannot believe that it was not letting me get discovered being this close. That's interesting. Why are they all covered out here? Alright. How do I want to do this now? I'm hoping I can drive around the building. I think I'm going to do that. So this is exactly now why you see why I didn't go do the viewpoint, because when you've got a big trailer, I mean, sometimes I drop the trailer and just run over, but like when you've got a big trailer, you're a little challenged in what you can do. But I think I can get around the back here. There we go. Perfect. But yeah, I'm happy, because I'll likely end up with a Freightliner. I just like their look. I like their instrument panel layout. You know, some people love these. They love the old school dials everywhere. You can't really read. They're still too small. I mean, I could zoom in, sure, you know, and look, but they're just not things I use. And the part I need, I mean, it's visible. I can see the speed limit, and you know, the RPMs are useful. I've got the odometer there with the 149,944. So this is a not very heavily used truck. All right, I'm going to move over to the right side, even though the line is long, because there's very little to the left. So I'm guessing I'm going to need to go over to the right. I didn't actually pay attention to where I was delivering this, which would have been helpful to understand. But yeah, so that's kind of the ATS update that I'm aware of so far. They haven't released like the 1.49 beta or anything, which is what they typically do before they release it, so I don't think it's imminent. But unfortunately, you know, there were several people. Well, there was mainly one person. I think then people replied and kind of pushed back on them a little bit, and I think one person incorrectly stated, well, they're working on all aspects of the game, but I don't really anticipate that they're working on the graphics, because I agree with some of the other people that said they'd kind of need a whole new game, because they'd need a whole new game engine by the time they rewrote the system entirely to take advantage of graphic capabilities. It would be more involved than just kind of starting over. So, and I don't need an ATS 2. I am fine with ATS 1 and just keep going. So I am not going to be one that will chime in for that. So I've been pretty upfront with that with people. This is not my thing. You know, just like it's the same thing. Like I'm a little worried about you know, another sim I'm gonna start. At least my intent is to start, but now I'm getting worried because they've updated the minimum and recommended specs for City Skylines 2. My machine's not that old. It's a little over a year old, and it was, you know, a gaming rig. It's not like I bought just a regular PC and I'm gaming on it. So it's definitely a little bit beefier in the video card and RAM and so forth, but question is it beefy enough to get beyond basic sizes? And then if it's not, am I going to be willing to spend hundreds of dollars to upgrade a video card or something? Because I think that's what I would need more than anything else. Maybe I'd need memory. Memory's cheap. It's the video card that's expensive, because I've got like an i9 processor and stuff, so I'm pretty sure I'm good on the processor front. But the video card is what's got me worried, because I don't remember if I have a 4 gig or an 8 gig. I don't really remember, but it's definitely not any bigger than that. But again, look at the sign. Look at that i90 sign. What more do you need? How much better graphics do you need? You can kind of see a little bit of texture on the steel posts. The text is beautiful. I can tell what it is, and I'm not squinting, I'm not doing anything. I can read interstate above 90. Like, to me, it's like, okay, great, you make it a little more crisp. It's the 30 to 60 frames per second argument. I'm not going to be able to tell the difference. I can tell myself I see something different, but that doesn't make it so. But anyway, some people are just not satisfied. They want something, but I'm not one of those. I don't have too many needs. I just need my truck and my steering wheel and the open road in front of me, and pay me when I get there for a delivery, and we're all set. So if you haven't been following the series, one of the challenges I've given myself in this is I am not exiting the truck to park. I'm trying to basically try to do it kind of like a trucker, because again, I've got a mod that puts the 2 mirrors up in the corners, obviously, so you know, in my GPS window or my mini map down there. So it's not like I'm, you know, and if I had VR, maybe I would get rid of those, because I would act as if I was driving, but I don't, and so I'd have to use a mouse, and that's not realistic either way. So I'm like, if I'm not going to be realistic, I'll do it this way. So if folks wonder why I'm doing that, but you know, but the piece I did add after I stopped the Coast to Coast series with the map problems, that was one of the things I said I was gonna put as a restriction on this series, is I am parking inside the truck. I almost felt like I had to deviate from that once. I think it was a couple episodes ago, maybe it was last episode, but I stuck it out and I made it and I parked, because definitely when you're doing a blind side parking, it does not feel good. You're kind of doing a lot of assumptions, like, well, I know this space is as wide as the truck, so if I aim for this line, I should be okay. But you know, when you're turning that way, you can't really see out this window very far. So, all right, I'm assuming I'm going to the BNSF depot to drop this chlorine off. And as always, even though it was only 200 miles, I'm sure this gave us more than enough content for a full episode. As is normal, I usually try to keep them right around that half-hour mark. That seems to be what people like. So that's why I haven't been pushing my skill points to get me to higher mileage, because there's not really a need for that at this point. It doesn't mean I won't do that maybe once I get myself a truck. Now that I have the Freightliner dealership, maybe I'll pull the trigger on that and, you know, get a day cab and start up, because the other reality we've got, which I think I did share last episode, is like, I'm not at high enough levels that I could even unlock larger things like with sleeper cabs or anything yet. So you know, it's one of those things that you start with what you have. But the other thing I'd like to do with the hazmat thing is I'm gonna, for the first time, I'm gonna try to buy a trailer and see how that changes the gameplay. I've never done it that way before. I bought a truck, certainly, and I've also then just bought a truck and just hauled stuff, because at that point I don't own a trailer, so I'm not having to specialize. But I'm kind of going to go all in, I think, with this series of trying to be a hazmat hauler. And, you know, maybe we'll branch out eventually, but that'll be my bread and butter to start with. Just watch that, because these tankers are long. Alright, we are clear. See if we get past the train, or if it's going to be a longer video while we wait for the train to go by. 2 tracks, like, I could read that. I didn't need better graphics to see it. You know, again, great. I might have better trees. Maybe I'd have 3-dimensional trees or whatever, but why do I want to buy more horsepower, a video card and so forth, just to render trees a little bit more realistically? I got nothing to do with trees here, unless they're cut down and I'm hauling them, and then they're a log and they're not that hard to render. So anyway, I've ranted enough. This is the mature simmer. I sometimes get on my soapbox and tell you how these young whippersnappers drive me nuts sometimes. Well, I'm assuming I'm going to need to pull around this way, because that is what needs to happen in most cases. That's kind of how these are set up. So it looks like I got to park between the lowboy and the reefer. And yes, of course, there's the yard dog back there, which is what the small vehicle that hauls trailers around in the yard is called. But that's out there. So again, yeah, this is going to be a blind side. And if it turns out too hard, I suppose I could turn around and go the other way, but like I just have to go with the mirror here because I'm not going to be able to do much outside of that. I'm trying to clear, I don't know what this thing is called, but I'm clearly not clearing it. Well, maybe if I go straight, let's see, I might be able to get by. Alright, because now I think I can do this, but like I am not, I mean, I'm looking over there like hoping that mirror shows me something the one on top doesn't, but it's not. Because I don't think it does. Wow, did I like totally get lucky? Or no, I think I know what I did. I think I am... Well, no, maybe. Because I thought I was too early, but there is no low boy over there. So, maybe... Well, let's keep trying. Because, like, once I straighten out, I'll be able to tell. No, this just doesn't look right, though. Oh, yeah, okay. So I did miss it. Alright, well, at this point, though, I think I'm gonna take advantage of the fact that I totally overshot the spot, and I'm gonna go this way, where I can clearly see, and then I can look out my window and see what I need to do. And this is, you know, I'd love to hear from real drivers. I sometimes have gotten comments from folks like that that explain, yeah, this is what I would have done instead. Like when you're faced with something like this, would you just automatically turn around so that you could park this way? And maybe I'm just being an idiot and doing the other thing and making it harder than it needs to be. Let's see. Am I gonna be clear there? Ay, ay, ay. I think I went too far. I did. I have gotten that advice from a real trucker before. Don't try to fix it if you realize you've messed it up. Just pull out far enough and start over. Alright, so now we will turn much sharper. Except I'm going the wrong way because I still get that screwed up when I'm looking out the back. But let's see. I think we're okay over there. It's gonna be tight. Yep, now I may have... Oh boy. Can't take me anywhere. Now I over-rotated, I think. So let me straighten this out. This one I think I can fix. Famous last words of a guy who can't back up a truck, right? Alright. So yes, I think I'm in better shape here. If I start hitting the reefer, I guess I'll know I'm not, but I think I'm okay. This would seem to be correct. So yes, there's a little bit of assumption this way, but it's easier to assume in this direction than the other one. Alright. So now I can go to the mirror. Let me straighten my wheels out. Kind of fix myself up here a little bit. There we go. Cool. Well done. That's probably not a very hard job. It just is harder because I'm insisting on doing it inside. It's a lot easier when you're using your drone view and up above. Yeah, lowest trailer maneuvering bonus I think I can get. But we leveled up. Alright, let's see. Corrosive substances. We're going to go with explosives, I think. Because there's probably a lot more of that available than the other things. I was sticking with the others earlier because there's more types of things. So, like, again, the gases, you know, non-flammable gases, I think, is probably where I was at. No, maybe toxic and, yep. Well, chloride, it doesn't say chlorine, but I'm thinking that's down there. But you know, we'll get sulfuric acid and hydrochloric acid. That'll be the next thing. So we're there, 193,000. So the thing I've been toying with is, do I just go ahead and buy the truck? Like, I think I have enough to buy a tractor at this point, but I don't think I have enough to buy the trailer, and I kind of am like, well, then I'm not doing the full experience, but maybe I haul on my own for a little bit. So I'm still going to have to think about that. But anyway, drop me your feedback if you want, and let me know. You know, I may make the decision before you get back to me. But in the interim, if you like the video, please drop a like if you haven't. Helps the YouTube algorithm get the content out to more people. And really close to 1,000 subscribers. I've been working hard to get to that milestone for a long time on the channel. Excited to be really close. If you're not a subscriber yet, I'd be ever thankful if you would go ahead and do me that service. And that will also help you find things easier on the channel, and also helps the YouTube algorithm understand that, hey, there's people subscribing to this content. This might be something we want to share. So with that, I'm going to wrap this up, and I'll see you next time.